Mangwana ni malelepo vukenjani kleklas vana ve Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your go-to source for the latest headlines shaping the continent today. On today's show, we bring you a mix of groundbreaking stories from Angola's mediation efforts between Congo and M23 rebels to Mozambique's political tensions, as well as Ethiopia's historic leadership transition. Plus, Patrice Motsepe secures a second term as CAF president, and we explore the countries with the best healthcare systems. Arrie Houggard joins us with the latest updates from South Africa, including the post-budget discussions and President Ramaphosa's diplomatic moves. Stay informed with Africa Good Morning on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube. Let's dive into the stories making waves across Africa.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Angola said it would attempt to broker direct talks between Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda-backed M23 rebels in the coming days. It was not immediately clear if the Congolese government, which has repeatedly refused to hold talks with the M23, would take part in discussions. Congo's presidential spokesperson told Reuters authorities took note of this initiative, while a M23 deputy spokesperson called it a victory of reason and confirmed the group's presence at the negotiations. Now, the Southern African country has been trying to mediate a lasting ceasefire and de-escalate tensions between Congo and neighboring Rwanda. Now, Rwanda denies providing arms to the troops, the M23 rebels, and says its forces are acting in self-defense against the Congolese army and militias hostile to Kigali. M23 rebels have seized East Congo's two biggest cities since January in an escalation of a long-running conflict rooted in the spillover into Congo of Rwanda's 1994 genocide and the struggle for control of Congo's vast mineral resources. Rwanda, which has been accused of backing the Tutsi-led rebel group, still denies ties to M23. Now, Mozambique's main opposition leader, Venancio Mondlane, said he was questioned for 10 hours by prosecutors this week, answering a slew of questions about the demonstrations that followed last October's elections, but was never informed of the specific accusation behind the interrogation. Mondlane, who claimed victory in the contested poll, revealed that he had been placed under judicial supervision as several international observer missions noted the vote was marred by irregularities. The election aftermath saw over 2 months of demonstrations and blockades, resulting in more than 300 deaths. Mondlane has been named in 8 cases opened by the Public Prosecutor's Office linked to the protests, most involving the destruction of public property, with additional accusations of subversion and disturbance of public order. His supporters gathered outside the building where he was questioned, but reports indicate that police dispersed them with tear gas. Moving on to our next story. Thousands of people have been gathering in southern Ethiopia for one of the country's biggest cultural events. The week-long Gada ceremony, which ended on Sunday, sees the official transfer of power from one customary ruler to his successor, something that happens every 8 years. The tradition of regularly appointing a new Abba Gada has been practiced by the Borana community for centuries and sees them gather at the rural site of Arda Jila Badasa near the Ethiopian town of Arero. It is a time to celebrate their special form of democracy as well as their cultural heritage, with each age group taking the opportunity to wear their different traditional outfits. During the procession, younger women walk at the front, distinguished from the married women by different color of their clothing. The unique Gada system of governance, which was added to the UN's Cultural Heritage List in 2016, allows for them to attend regular community meetings and add their voice to the Aba Gada. Now, the main event at the recent Gada ceremony was the handover of power from the outgoing 48-year-old Aba Gada to his younger successor. Well-wishers crossed the border from Kenya, and others traveled from as far as Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, to witness the spectacle. The governor of Kenya's Marsabit County was among the honored guests. 37-year-old Guyo Boru Guyo was chosen to lead because he impressed the Council of Elders during his teenage years. He becomes the 72nd Aba Gada and will now oversee the Borana people who live in both southern Ethiopia and northwestern Kenya. As their top diplomat, he will also be responsible for solving the feuds that may emerge in the pastoralist community. Patrice Motsepe has been re-elected unopposed as Confederation of African Football President for a second term in office. The 63-year-old South African, who has been CAF president since 2021, had announced his decision to stand again in October 2024. His re-election for another 4-year reign was confirmed at the CAF Extraordinary General Assembly in Cairo yesterday, where FIFA President Gianni Infantino was in attendance. Motsepe, a mining magnate who also owns South African club Mamelodi Sundowns, had said he was looking to continue the good progress he had made since coming to office 4 years ago. Although Motsepe's re-election was a formality, elections were held for positions on CAF's executive committee, with Cameroonian football legend Samuel Eto'o winning a seat. The continent's representatives on the FIFA Council were also voted in during Wednesday's Executive General Assembly. Now, Motsepe's second term in charge of African football was decided before Wednesday's events in Cairo after he became the first and only contender to run for office. The lack of challenges could be seen as a vote of confidence in the South African's presidency so far, having come to CAF at a time of crisis. In 2021, he succeeded Ahmad of Madagascar, who had become the first CAF president to be banned by FIFA. Since then, the African football body has grown financially, making a $72 million profit from last year's Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, a sum 18 times bigger than that generated by the previous edition in 2022. When declaring his intent to run for second term, Motsepe told the BBC progress had been made, but there is still a lot of work to be done. In Latin, they say, tot facienda parum factum, so little done, so much to do. In our last top story, healthcare is a fundamental pillar of any nation's development, influencing life expectancy, quality of life, and overall well-being. Many countries in the WHO African region struggle with inadequate healthcare investment and limited access to care, whereas others invest in modern medical technologies and well-trained professionals to ensure high-quality healthcare. According to International Insurance, the top 10 countries with the best healthcare systems, ranked based on medical infrastructure, accessibility, affordability, and quality of care, include Singapore, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, China, Israel, Norway, Iceland, Sweden, and Switzerland. These nations consistently prioritize efficient patient care systems, cutting-edge medical advancements, and policies that support public health. Meanwhile, Africa's healthcare system faces ongoing challenges, including inadequate infrastructure and medical professional shortages, though countries like South Africa, Egypt, and Rwanda are making notable progress through increased investments and policy improvements. Between 2012 and 2020, only 8 countries in the WHO African region met the recommended minimum health expenditure of $249 per capita, highlighting the need for further reforms and funding to enhance healthcare accessibility and quality across the continent. All right, those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Just now, we're going to be talking to Arrie Houggard as he brings us the news stories from South Africa. As you know, the budget was proposed yesterday, and my oh my, are there discussions around it. Stay with Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
All right, it's time to talk to Arrie Houggard as he brings us the South Africa report on Africa Good Morning. Arrie Houggard.
That's good Afrikaans. Good morning as well. Yes, that sounds good. Yes, very well, thank you. All good in South Africa. We got the budget, the speech at least, but now we'll see if it's going to be implemented.
All righty. Now, Arrie, the budget was announced after it was postponed, and it seems that even after the announcement, there isn't much cohesion, but take us into that story.
Yes, there was... It's good that it got onto the table. The Minister of Finance tried to put a little bit of a lighter side into it. He described that some said that his budget will be done when Kaizer Chiefs, his favorite soccer team, starts winning. And they drew again last night. So it is tongue in the cheek, but the serious business is that it's been tabled. The big factor obviously for the budget not being even discussed in February was the 2% VAT that was suggested by the minister. So he took it down to 0.5% for this year and the next year. So it's basically 2 years of 0.5. It will add up to 1% then. So that is still the discussion, and that's going to be the big discussion point. Most of the parties said that they're not happy with the VAT. And the reason for that is that it's effectively influencing the man in the street in a big way and the poor people specifically. That's going to be under discussion. How it works now is it has been tabled. So now it needs to be discussed in the next 16 days. Basically at two areas. It's both the National Assembly needs to discuss it and the National Council of Provinces. So they need on both of them 51% agreement. So the problem for the ANC at the moment is that they obviously well documented they've got 40% representation in Parliament. Only two political parties indicated that they accept the budget yesterday, and that was the IFP, and they've got 4% in Parliament. Then the Patriotic Alliance, 2%, and then also the UDM, they've got 0.5%. So that adds up to roughly about 4.5% plus their 40%. So they're on 46%, but they need 51%. So what needs to happen is somebody somewhere needs to agree with them on something for them to get the 51%. And it's been also well documented that also political parties outside of the Government of National Unity, like the EFF and also the MK party, both of them rejected the VAT component. Obviously, if the ANC in this discussion can get, for instance, the MK party to agree with them, that would be 15% added to their 40%. So that's how technical it is at the moment. So it's all up for discussion. So let's just quickly, just briefly look at what happened. It is a VAT of 0.5% that's been suggested. Also, there's a suggestion of taxes. Well, the taxes haven't been risen. It's been a bit adjusted. You can say that there's a squeezing on the taxpayer. So income tax not adjusted, but the tax brackets is not adjusted to inflation. So in a way, there's still money that that's coming in there. But between the two of them, 46 billion South African rand is what the minister said they can get in extra. But South Africa's biggest problem is our expenditure. So that's been a strong argument in Parliament, how to cut costs. So if me and you, Ashwin, do our budget, we need to look at what we're spending first. And if there's some stuff that we can cut, some obvious stuff. So it's the same with the budget of South Africa. 10 years ago, South African government debt was 2 trillion South African rand. Now it's 10 trillion South African rand. It adds up 22 cents on every rand that comes in goes to debt in South Africa. So that's something they need to look at. So that will be discussions now, but at least they're making progress, hopefully. And I think in this, just briefly to close on this, I think all the parties of the government of national unity, through this frustration maybe, got closer to each other and understand now how to work together.
All right, Arrie, from internal affairs to external affairs, President Cyril Ramaphosa assured Parliament that he will still send envoys to the United States to smooth out relations between the two countries. And my, oh my, does he need a good filer to smoothen that one out?
Yes, that's what happened yet, and I think the budget was the priority, and I think they maybe don't have all the answers yet to go across. There's some serious things that's on the table that is for discussion, and obviously we also can see that the United States is a kind of tangling with all of the world, especially United States tangling with Canada. So we're not alone in this, but it's briefly just stopping all these support from UN aid that South Africa got. So it needed to be agreed or put into the budget somewhere, especially when it comes to health, like HIV, AIDS, etc. So that is a concern. That's money that South Africa has lost. But it is also looking back, we kind of, why do we find ourselves in the situation that we need to look out for that from the outside? But that is aid that South Africa did get. But the relationship more on the economic side, not UN aid alone. It is more AGOA that is a big component that South Africa need to talk to. And hopefully the government will send a delegation, and agreements like AGOA, where there's duty-free exports for South Africa, can hopefully continue. So that is on the table. It ends now this year.
All right, Arrie, normally when I go into sport, I expect us to head into a less serious subject, but that is not the case. The Warriors cricket franchise launched a formal dispute with Cricket South Africa after they were fined 500,000 rand for transformation breach.
Yes, it's predominating the sports news a bit, and so obviously there's transformation rules that's put into place with the domestic competitions. That's the Warriors. How it briefly works in the one-day competition, there's 11 players in the cricket team. 5 of them can be white players, and 6 players needs to be players of color, so to speak, and 3 need to be ethnic black. So that is in short, it's actually it's rules that's been in age group cricket as well, and in the domestic cricket, and the Warriors didn't apply to that, so they've been sanctioned. They hitting back. They say they're not Cricket South Africa not being consequent. I also picked it up in SA20, the recent competition. So there were no rules of that in the SA cricket or the SA20, but the argument for SA cricket is that those franchises are owned by international companies like the Indian Premier League, etc., etc. And also the Proteas, the national team, they have a different system. So they would look at the whole season and not at the game specific. And sometimes there's injuries, sometimes there's different strategies in a game, and look at the season. So it's unfortunate that it's under discussion, but it's a reality at the moment. So Eastern Province Cricket pushing back a little bit on this now, or challenging Cricket South Africa. They're not consistent in applying.
All right, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on how that one unfolds, Arrie. Now, Bafana coach Hugo Broos again emphasized the importance of beating Lesotho and Benin.
Yes, it's quite obvious. South Africa urgently want to play in the World Cup again. Ashwin, I know that you've got a soft spot. You're obviously born there for Zimbabwe making it rather than South Africa. So there's going to be important games between the two as well. But yes, Hugo Broos there, he says that, well, the derbies against Zimbabwe and Lesotho, they're going to be the crucial ones. Other teams in the group is Rwanda, Benin, and also Nigeria. Nigeria battling a bit at the moment. But big game coming up the 21st of March, next week, Thursday. That's against Lesotho, and then Benin on the 25th of March. And just to put it into context, the last time South Africa qualified for a World Cup was 2002. They obviously played in the 2010 one, but they played it in it because they hosted it. So it is about time that South Africa qualify again for that. So it's tough to qualify. But Hugo Bruce is quite confident that he can get enough points. But there's going to be big games coming up against Lesotho and Zimbabwe. That's going to determine their fate.
All right, Arrie, now in the last of your stories, Durban offers tourists many amazing options, and the Umgeni River Bird Park is a definite must-visit. Tell us about it.
Yes, always we look at something that's unique in the tourism side. There's lots of unique things, but if you're up in the Durban area, the Umgeni River Bird Park got an amazing history going back to the 80s, 1984 that it started. So it's been through tough times as well through the last 20 years, but they're standing strong at the moment. There's 4,500 birds there, well, from 400 species, but there's turtles, there's some other species of animals as well. But the nice thing is that it's not only from South Africa, there's birds from North and South America, there's also from Indonesia and Australia. And there's also 17 species that threatened. So it's a great place to visit. It helps to the economy of Durban. Great place to visit. It's not only the great beaches there, you've got the bird park. You can see cranes, you can see humbles, and of course, there's some of the birds, also vultures and the kookaburras. I always thought the kookaburra was a cricket ball when I played cricket in school, and the cricket bat, but the kookaburra is a bird from Australia, so you can even see a kookaburra there if you go to Durban at the Umgeni River Bird Park. So proud export, a proud component of South African tourism in Durban.
Hey, I actually do love bird parks, so I'll be bookmarking that visit as well. Thank you, Arrie, for bringing us that comprehensive report from South Africa.
Thanks, Ashwin. Nice talking to everyone, and stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Let's have a look at the economic indicators before we say bye-bye. Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. We brought you several stories from Kenya as well as Mozambique and others. And of course, today was the day for the South Africa report. And for those of us unaware, on Monday we have the Zambia report. We cross over to Mike Sichula. On Tuesday we have the Zimbabwe report. We cross over to Talent Gore. On Wednesday we have Botswana report. We cross over to Rorisang Mohojo. And as you just witnessed, on Thursday, South Africa, and we cross over to Arrie Houggard. Tomorrow's Friday, which means it's all about Africa and Namibia. From me, Ashwin Berry and the Africa Good Morning team, DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and the Network Media Hub is precisely where you can find us. Swera Jakanaka.